Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing my April wrap-up. I was excited. I didn't really read as many books as I had wanted to read this month. I only read I read 4 books. I listened to 1 audiobook, so 5 books. The last couple of months I was reading like 7 books a month. Now I'm like slowing down. So yeah, I'm just going to get started and tell you the books that I read this month in April. The first book I have here is The Rose and the Thorn by Michael J. Sullivan. This is book 2 of the Area Chronicles, and this is basically following Hadrian and Royce, the 2 loves of my life, in their first year together after knowing each other for 1 year. So the first book is The Crown Tower, and that talks about how they met. This book just basically focuses on 1 year later after they've met and what they've been up to and stuff like that. So basically, Royce and Hadrian return to Medford and things are not how they left it. And the love of my life, Royce, is really upset by that. And he kind of goes on a mad rampage and it just gets really good. And the only thing about this book that I wish is that it focused a lot more on Hadrian and Royce. So basically in this book, in comparison to the first book, this one focuses a little bit more on Royce and his storyline. He's still cloaked in mystery, you know, the way we like him, but it does tell you a little bit more about him and about who he is. But the first book focused a lot on Hadrian and his backstory. And so we didn't really get to see that much of him in this book. I wish there was more. But the way this book is laid out is kind of to set up for the book 1 of the Area of Revelations, which is Theft of Swords. So it was really good, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was The Horse and His Boy by C.S. Lewis. This is book 3 of the Chronicles of Narnia if you're reading them chronologically. I'm not sure, but I think it's book 5 if you're reading them in publication order. This book was so good. I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. When I finished reading it, I had like a slight book hangover and I didn't know what to do with myself. It was so good. This book follows a young boy, Shasta, and he meets this horse one day, and the horse starts talking to him. He's like, "Oh, hold up. How come you're talking? Like, what's that about?" And the horse is like, "Hello, I'm a Narnian. Duh." And they go on to this whole adventure, and they're trying to get to Narnia, and they meet all these cool characters. It was just so good and so beautifully written. I just totally loved it. And this would kind of remind me of Star Wars a little bit. Episode 4, where they find Anakin, and he's, you know, like basically a slave, and him and his mother are owned, and Obi-Wan comes and takes them away and becomes a Jedi. So I don't know, it just kind of reminded me of Star Wars because I'm obsessed. But it was really, really good, and I can't wait to finish on with this series. I loved it. The next book that I read was The Weight of Shadows by Brent. This book, oh my god, had me going through every single emotion on the planet. I was happy, I was scared, I was angry, I was like hating people, and it was amazing. I just really, really enjoyed it. So this book follows this young boy, Azoth, and he is basically a street urchin, and he lives in the slums with other kids around his age, younger, older, you know, and their guilds, like their area is run by this crazy psychopath, nut job, freak of the week, okay? He's just sick. And Azoth wants to get away from him, and he wants to protect his friends Doll, Girl, and Jarl. And so the way that he sees that he can do that is if he enlists the help of the #1 assassin, Durzo Blint, the other love of my life. And Durzo doesn't usually take on apprentices, but he sees something in Azoth, and through a series of events, Azoth becomes his apprentice. And the thing about becoming Durzo Blint's apprentice is that he has to leave Azoth behind. He has to leave the person he was behind. And in doing so, he has to leave his friends behind. And that whole life he knew, Azoth is dead. And so he has to take on this new persona as Kylar. And this is very, very hard for him, which you can just imagine if you had to leave yourself, you know, who you have always been, and become a totally different person. That it would be hard for anyone. But I feel like for him, he wasn't as strong as I wanted him to be. You know, he was crying and so I'm you seriously crying? Like, I understand that you're going through a lot, but you don't have to. He was just crying too much, and he was just too emotional for me. I'm like, get it together, man. Get your life. But pretty much like every other character in the book is just like him. Sometimes I liked him, sometimes I didn't. I feel like I liked him more as Azoth than when he became Kylar. But I'll just quickly mention some other characters that I liked. I really liked Doll Girl. I liked her strength because some effed up stuff happened to her, but she was like, just because this happened to me doesn't mean I'm going to be like mean and horrible and nasty to other people, but I'm going to show kindness that, you know, wasn't shown to me to other people. And I really love that about her. I was like, amazing. And then the other character that I really liked was Logan. Oh God, I liked his character development because he was basically like, he went through a lot of stuff because there's another country that is trying to, you know how countries war with each other and then they try to take over and overthrow the king and stuff like that. So he goes through a lot of stuff, his family and everything. And I liked how he was like, I will not be broken no matter what. You tried it, but you will not break me. And I was just like, oh, that was just so beautiful to me. I definitely want to reread this book because, like, I just need to reread it. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good. You should read it too. And the next book that I read was The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. This is book 1 in a duology. The second book is The Parable of the Talents. So this book is science fiction, and I try with science fiction. The only science fiction author I really like is Ray Bradbury. Like, everybody else, I can't really get into their work, into their stuff. I really like science fiction, like when I'm watching television shows or movies, like I love it. But when I read it in books, I just can't. Well, I can't really get into like adult dystopian. If it's like YA dystopian, I can totally do it. But adult, I just can't. Anyway, this book follows a young girl who's a minister's daughter, and she lives in a gated community, or what was, you know, former like a prosperous community in California, and they have still been able to keep up the gates after the world has turned into this dystopian chaos. And so they are really well protected from the outside and from like all the crazy happenings that are going on out there, because it's like the inferno. It's like crazy crap going on. But slowly but surely, her world, this safety that she's always lived in, is slowly breaking down. And that's pretty much what the book is about. I didn't really like it because it was very slow paced. I was like, come on, get to it. You know, like, I get we need background information, but it was too much and it just needed to be a little bit faster. So I found it very boring at times. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it really deserves 2 stars because it was just like so boring to me. She has very interesting religious beliefs, or she has a very interesting belief system, but I wasn't really into it. You know what I mean? Like, it was interesting, but I didn't really care too much about it. I didn't really care about anyone in this one, to be honest with you. It was okay. I don't plan on reading the second book. I'm not into it. And I did listen to an audiobook somewhere in between reading The Rose and the Thorn and The Horse and His Boy, and the audiobook that I listened to is The Sword of Welleran and Other Stories by Lord Dunstan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but he basically influenced two of my favorite authors, C.S. Lewis and Tolkien, so I kind of like want to read more about their influences and, you know, just see how they became masters. And this book was so good. I want to actually purchase it so I could reread it and kind of like highlight and go through it. It was just beautiful, and it was like some sort of like romanticism about it. Like, it was just beautifully poetic. I just loved it. I thought it was so good. So I definitely want to reread it again, and hopefully I'll do like a book review on it. Also, I want to do like a spoiler review of The Way of Shadows because, okay, like, it was crazy. It was crazy. So I hope that you guys are having a wonderful, amazing day, and I'm going to go rewatch The Flash because I can't deal with what's going on. I need to rewatch it and get centered. So you guys can tell me what you're doing today. What books did you read in April? Have you read any of the books that I've read? And I hope that everything in your life is wonderful, beautiful, and amazing. And I'm sending blessings and prayers your way. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.